Hello and welcome to Talk a Good Game. It's match preview of West Ham United against Burnley at the London Stadium on Saturday. The one that was quite eventful last season, this fixture. Both teams are very similar form at the minute, sitting on 8 points in the Premier League. Mike, kicking off as always, what's your thoughts on the Clarets?
Burnley, they've had an interesting season, haven't they? And they remind me, I don't know about if you agree, they remind me of our first season when we moved ground and we went to the London Stadium. And as much as we tried to get into Europa League, do you remember we qualified to try and get into Europa League? We totally failed. And we never regained our confidence after that, I felt it took us a long, long time to really get going. And I think the exact same things happened to Burnley. They were quite this great thing. We were in Europe, yay, unbelievable achievement, which it was, to be fair. And then they didn't actually make it into the Europa League, and now I don't think they've really recovered from it. Is my opinion. Their confidence seems knocked. I mean, if you look at them, they've scored one more goal than us, believe it or not, but they've let in loads more. They've let in 21. Only two teams have conceded more this season, and they are, of course, Cardiff and Fulham, than Burnley. And Burnley's team's built on a rock solid defence. For some reason, they appear to be playing a high line where their deep midfield, low block defence worked really well for them last season. So I'm not really sure what's going on there, but I just think they appear to have lost confidence largely.
Charlie, they were the big overachievers last season in the Premier League. They were a team bucking the trend. But what's your thoughts on them this season?
Yeah, I think they're just struggling to recreate. It's almost like they've got more pressure on them because of what happened last year to redo that again. And I don't think that was ever going to be possible, because I think it was such a huge achievement. But also B, I think it takes a hell of a lot out of you. Like, although it seems easy to play defensively, you just sort of sit there and wait. It is a very, very difficult game plan. And when you try to introduce new people to it, I don't think it's always a very, very easy thing to do twice in a row. And so for them, they just got to look to continue to try and get back to where they were, because let's be honest, if they ever had ambitions of, this isn't to belittle them, but if they thought they could continue that and do it again this season, I don't think that should have been where they should have been aiming. They should have been aiming to solidify and be truly a mid-table side in a similar way to like Leicester did, basically.
Charlie, from a neutral point of view, is Burnley staying up this season considered a success to you?
No, I don't think it is. I think they should be further ahead, good enough. I think they're more than good enough to stay up. I think they shouldn't be even considering relegation a possibility. But given the way they started, it is something that's going to be in the sort of periphery in the background. But as a neutral, I think they should have been aiming way, way higher than that. And surviving should be considered failure, really.
Mike, they're struggling to score goals similar to us, but they're also conceding a lot of goals, as you've alluded to. And they're sitting just outside of relegation zone this season. Will they stay up? And how comfortable will it be being a Burnley fan?
I think they'll stay up. I think there are some teams way worse than them in the league, though. That's the reason they'll stay up. I think they'll probably improve as they go on. They need to do something about their underlying attacking stats. In the last 4 games, for example, they've had the least real shots in the league for the last 4 games, and I think they need to do something about that. They don't really create enough chances, but I think they'll stay up. I suspect they'll finish around about 13th, 14th, somewhere around there. They'll get it slightly more together as they go, but. It's weird. They haven't sold their best players or anything, have they? Do you know what I mean? You'd accrue that sort of twist in form you would associate with something like that, or had a huge overhaul of players going on there. They've got the same manager. It's hard to pinpoint exactly what's happened, because last season they did very, very well. We remember the game at home against us. Obviously, we had the demonstration and everything, but that brilliant substitution, which we didn't react to when Woods came on, and that was it. I remember turning around and saying, that is going to win the game, and it did. And it just does. They don't seem as cute as they were last season, pulling up those sort of like classic substitutions and things like that.
Yeah, I have to agree with what you're saying. I think they'll stay up. I think they'll probably sit roughly 6 points ahead of 18th place for the whole season. I don't think they'll go that far ahead of the relegation zone all season, but I don't think they'll drop into the bottom 3, purely because I think there's two poor sides in the league this season in Cardiff and Huddersfield. I think they're always going to occupy two of the bottom three spaces. I think Burnley are going to be close to getting tangled up with the likes of Fulham for that third space. But Sean Dyche has got them with the work ethic, etc. Last season, I think they just had a really good start. And if you can get momentum going in Premier League, as we're seeing with Bournemouth this season, you just keep going. You just keep winning. You have confidence. You're playing fearless. You can afford to take risks. You can risk your 1 point to try and go get three. But when you're in a position like West Ham and Burnley are heading into this game, you can't always risk that 1 point. You sometimes just got to play it a little bit too safe. But last year, Burnley had that freedom. They were, again, egged on by every neutral going possibly. Every time they come up against a big, like a top six club, every neutral wanted them to beat that top six club. They were the fairy tale last season. They're not this season. I think they're probably where they should be. And I don't mean that to be critical of Burnley, but they have been operating on a shoestring budget, etc. And Dyche, I think, overachieves with Burnley. I do think he overachieves keeping them in the Premier League. They've got some fantastic players there. But the difference between Burnley and a lot of other clubs in the Premier League is when they go to sell one of their top players, the fee will be 20, 25 million, and that's it at the maximum. Whereas, you look at West Ham, Leicester, etc., we can demand 50, 60 million pounds for Riyad Mahrez in the summer, for example. Marko Navic was touted at 50 million. I don't think Burnley's got that ability, if you like. If someone went knocking for Tarkowski, for example, I think you'd get him for 20, 25 million. And he's, in my opinion, their best player. Charlie, speaking of Burnley's best player, who do you consider to be their biggest threat or the player you admire the most? Because they don't have that many threats.
They don't, and that's the thing, as you were saying, comparing it to sort of the Marko Arnautovic situation, they don't have someone who can just drag them kicking and screaming out of a relegation battle, for example, or to the next level. They don't have someone who's going to absolutely decimate a team by themselves, but they do have a lot of individually very good players, and as a unit, they come together as more than the sum of their parts. So if you're looking at, say, a player like, for example, we did really once, who is he's a perfectly decent striker, but in that setup works perfectly well. And they've got a lot of similar sort of level players, but they do have. I'm a big fan of Jeff Hendricks for some reason. I just like the way he plays. I like the way I don't know. It just controls the game well, I think. And they've got a couple of people who, when they're on their day as a unit, they work very, very well. But they just haven't been on their day yet this season. But knowing us, that's when they turn up. So.
Mike, what about yourself? Any Burnley players you fear heading into the weekend, or is any you wouldn't quite mind seeing at West Ham United in the near future?
I don't know about that. Goodmanson, isn't it, the Icelandic midfielder they've got? He's pretty good. He's probably their best creative spark. They've looked better since he's come back. So he missed a lot at the start of the season as well with injury. And I think he's the player I probably fear the most. He probably would at least get in the matchday squad with us. He might even get in the team. He's very good set piece delivery as well. So I think he's the player I worry about the most. They've got some very good individual defenders as well. Tarkowski, you've already mentioned, and me, but he's having a bit of an off season so far, Ben Mee, isn't he? And of course, I've got the player who will probably come back and be brilliant to haunt us, Joe Hart, in goal. You just know he's going to have a blinder, don't you? You know he's going to have a brilliant game, just like he didn't for us.
I have to agree with your Icelandic winger, Mike Goodmanson. I think he's fantastic. He's got 4 assists this season for Burnley. He's clearly their main threat, and he hasn't played every single game. I've always liked Robbie Brady as well, actually. He's one player I've always admired. When he was at Norwich as well, and when he went to Burnley, we signed someone at roughly the same time. I can't remember who it was, but Brady was one of the options, and there was someone else that we did actually go and pursue instead. I think it might have been Robert Snodgrass, perhaps. I could be wrong, but I remember thinking, damn, I wish we went for Brady. I think Brady was the one we should have went for. And I've always liked him. And he came back last weekend against Chelsea when they did get a hiding. He did get a booking, but he's someone I've always liked. Their centre-backs are always a threat. I think they've scored 4 goals from set pieces this season. I think the 5 is the most in the league, so they're certainly a danger from their set pieces. As Mike said, Joe Hart's going to show up. He's having a good season at Burnley. Him and Fabianski actually have made the most saves in the Premier League, 44 apiece. They're joint top heading into this one, so you'd be forgiven if you maybe expected 2 clean sheets for this one. But anyway, on Saturday, we've got the boats, as always, open before the game, open at 12 noon, and open straight after the game. So if you fancy a beer, a barbecue, both, then feel free to come and join us. Kids go free, as they do all season, but they do need a ticket, and you can get your tickets from the link in the description below. So just click down there. It's www.eventbrite something. Click on that, you get your tickets, and you can come join the likes of me and Mike for a beer and a burger on Saturday on the boats. 2 minutes from the ground. Can't miss us. West Ham United, though, have only conceded more than once in their last 7 games. So basically, we've only conceded at the most 1 goal in 6 of the 7. So we're keeping the defence solid. So we're not going to discuss the back 5 up par 1 position. Charlie, who would you like to see at left back? Me and Michael spoke about Goodmanson. He plays right wing. Who's your man that's going to mark him?
It just has to be Cresswell. I can't see any other choice. I think Masuaku. The argument for Masuaku in my head would be you give him another chance to prove himself given yesterday's calamity. But I think yesterday he looked like he might actually, at least for the last half an hour, it looked like he may have been carrying some sort of injury because he was not moving entirely naturally. I don't know whether that's a long-term thing. I don't know whether that's going to come back to haunt him or anything. But also, he's just not there defensively. He just can't do it. He's incredible going forward. He just can't do it. And like I say, there is a very direct threat on that wing. We're going to need someone to be there. And for me, it has to be Cresswell.
Do you agree with that, Mike?
I do, actually, yeah. Also, Goodmanson's a tricky player, but he's not the fast sort of pace-based winger. I think Cresswell would be the right player to go up against him.
Yeah, I'm just 3 for adding Cresswell just to make it quick and snappy. In centre midfield, Mike, this is where one of the big decisions lie on Saturday. We obviously played 2 centre midfielders against Spurs in the Cup rather than our 3, which we have been using in the league. Would you like to see us switch back to a 3 in centre midfield? And who would you like to see partner alongside Declan Rice?
Well, that's the problem, isn't it? Have we got 3 to play in central midfield? I would love us to play 3. I'm much happier with us playing in a 4-3-3 shape. I think we look better balanced with 4-3-3, but we actually don't have them. Now Noble's gone, and given just how god-awful Obiang was on Wednesday, I really don't want to see him there either for this game, especially as he's just come back, and he was just terrible. And I would... You can't now talk about the midfield without talking about the attacking unit as well, because you're going to have to move some people around here. Personally, I would play Rice and Snodgrass at the heart of midfield. I know Snodgrass is not his natural position, but I can't think of anyone else, and maybe you can. If we can think of someone else, hurrah! But at least Snodgrass is in good form. He takes good set pieces, we know. And he works hard, and he could do a job for us there if Rice can tell him where to go and what to do, which Rice is very capable of doing, as we know. So I'd like to see him there. If we're going to have to play a number 10, I would be tempted to play maybe a second deep striker and have Perez there, because I thought Perez was right when he came on, actually, yesterday. And he looks like he's fit. And I don't want Anderson in the team.
Right, we'll come on to him in a little minute, Mike. There, we'll be 10 of your 11 now with Diagano and Anavic being the other 2. Charlie, for me, it's going to be a midfield 3 of Snodgrass, Rice, and Obiang by default, simply because there's literally no other option to play in there unless you take a massive gamble, which is either play Fredericks and move Zabaleta there, or play Connor Coventry or something. But I think this is not the game for gambling. I think you keep it simple, and but Obiang basically for me is playing by default. Charlie, would you agree with me, Mike, or is there something else you've got in your head?
No, that's exactly what I would do. I would put Obiang, Rice, and Snodgrass. I think Snodgrass has worked great and has shown that he's actually played very well there. I think even though it slightly hampers his attacking mobility, but I think he's played well enough there to keep that position. And although, like you say, Obiang's just come back from injury, he didn't particularly have a great game last night. I think A, by default, and B, he played well enough before the injury to show that he can play that well quite capably. And I think having him and Rice there, hopefully, if he can get that form back, allows Snodgrass to be a bit more attacking than it needs to be. So for me, again, like you say, it's 3. I would consider Connor Coventry, but potentially off the bench instead of starting.
The one thing I'll defend Obiang with is last night against Spurs, he was in a midfield 2 with him and Rice, and they just got overran. They couldn't cope with the talent of Eriksen, Ali coming at them. Then they had Harry Winks controlling that midfield once again. Whereas if we've got Snodgrass in there with him, I think you see a slightly different Obiang. But anyway, that's 10 of our 11 players for all 3 of us, because I assume that them 2 are like me, would pick Arnautovic and Diagana as the other 2. That leaves one more space. Our record signing, Felipe Anderson. Mike's already said he doesn't want him. Charlie, would you be including Felipe Anderson in your side?
Yeah, I would. And I wouldn't even have a second thought about it. But yeah, I would include him.
Would you care to expand? Do you not think he's been a bit poor so far?
I mean, there's a lot to be said about the way he's been playing. I think the one thing that even I will concede on, don't have him take corners. I don't think it's. I don't know why it's the most confusing problem in the world. But I remember we had a conversation last year or the year before about Payet. Had the exact same problem, just couldn't take the corner for some reason, despite being capable as a footballer. I think he shouldn't be doing that first choice, especially if Robert Snodgrass is on the pitch, or even Diangana took a couple of good free kicks last night, so maybe that as well. But if you like, I don't want to bring up stats because stats is an incredibly boring way to do it, and everyone who hates him will go, the stats don't tell the full picture, and they don't. But if you look at it, he does do a lot of tackles, he does work, he does do good key passes, he creates chances. Before Leicester, he was one of only 6 players in the Premier League to have created more than 20 chances, which is including people like David Silva and players like that. He is in that echelon. I think his problem is very much his price tag puts a lot of pressure on him, because as West Ham, we can't go out and spend £40 million on a single player and then not have them turn up week in, week out. I don't think he had the best game of his life last night. I'm not going to argue that by any stretch of the imagination, but I think he was fine. And I think he actually presses well. And I think he, without tracking back constantly, although I do think he tracks back better than arguably any of our other wingers, apart from maybe Diangana, but that's by the by at this point. I think he does defensive contribution brilliantly. I think his tackle, I think his pressing last night was good, and I think his tackling is very good. So for me, I don't see a situation why you would drop him right now, because I don't think he's playing bad enough to where you have to drop him. Although I'm not going to stand here and say that any player is undroppable, but I don't think he should be dropped for this game.
Mike, just quickly, who would you be replacing Anderson with in your 11 then?
Right. Let's get this clear. First of all, with the Anderson thing, if he was playing that well last night, then why was he yanked off at half time? But secondly, I don't mean drop him as in your rubbish, drop him. I just want to play the long term with Anderson a bit. He needs a little, his confidence is waning. I don't think there's any argument here. And I just think he needs maybe a game or 2 out of the spotlight. He needs to be taken out of the team, given a man cuddle and given some support, and then brought back in. Not in a nasty or drop weight. He just needs a little bit. He's played every single game, and he just needs a little bit of a break, get his head together, then come back, hopefully refreshed and renewed and ready to go again, and we'll give him another go. Because he's a long-term. I think he'll get good eventually, but when that eventually is. Anyway, well, who would I play? I would play a front 3 I play 4-2-3-1 to start with, not 4-3-3, because I think Obiang didn't look fit yesterday. I think that was his problem. He was fine before he got injured. I agree with you. He was doing quite a good job. He didn't look like he trained or anything, and he just come back from injury, been parachuting to the team, and it's easy to say, yeah, they were overrun, but Rice coped with it infinitely better than Obiang did, didn't he? And like, Obiang just didn't look fit. I felt a bit sorry for him, really. It was all slagging him off. He just did not look fit. Solid midfield, then I play Ghana and in front of them.
Well, I'll be bringing in Perez for this one as well. Simply put, he scored a goal last night. That is exactly what we're lacking. We're lacking goal scorers. I agree with you about Anderson's confidence. You watch our review. I've defended him the last couple of games and saying he is a good player, just low in confidence. I also think this is the wrong opposition for Anderson. This is a team that will kick him. This is a team that will physically bully him. And I think against Spurs, we saw what happens when someone gets, I'm talking about the league game here now, we saw what happens when someone gets in his face a little bit. He hides. He doesn't like the physical aspect of the game yet. He needs to adapt to the Premier League's physicality. Every foreign player needs to adapt to that. And I just don't think Burnley is that type of game. You let him adapt. Perez has had taste, more taste of the English football, if you like. He didn't really cope with the Arsenal, went out to La Liga. But that league is arguably dirtier than the Premier League, if you like, for the kicking and the hustle and the bustle of that. So I'd like to see Perez in here as well and give Anderson a rest. But I agree with Charlie. If Anderson does play, which he will, Pellegrini stated the reason Anderson only played 45 minutes last night is because he's playing on Saturday. That's why Pellegrini took him off as a pre-arranged sub. I think that's part of the problem, actually. That Anderson knew he was going to play in 45 minutes. I think that's the wrong attitude to install in Anderson's mind completely. Anderson knew before the ball was kicked against Spurs that he was playing against Burnley. Complete wrong attitude, actually. And I pin that on Pellegrini here, not Anderson. I blame this on Pellegrini. A player shirt should never be guaranteed for Saturday when they've still got a game to play. Rice, yes. Zabaleta, who's rested. Fabianski, Balbuena, Diop, yes. But apart from that lot, no, Anderson's shirt was not guaranteed for Saturday. He should have been playing for it last night. But Pellegrini guaranteed it for the Burnley game before we kicked off last night. That was wrong of our manager, and I think that had an impact on his performance against Spurs. And I'm pinning that at Pellegrini's door here. But talking about pinning the thing at Pellegrini's door, Charlie, is this a must-win? And is the pressure starting to mount up on Pellegrini, or is it sort of we just have to be patient because the statisticians out there, if you like, are pointing out now that Pellegrini's got less points than Bilic had last season at this point?
Yeah, I don't think it's must-win necessarily, but we're getting near to the point now where the performances have to turn into points, because I don't think we've been playing as badly as our points tally would suggest. I think we've played a lot better than that. And also, we're getting into the run of games between now and 2019 where we have a lot of winnable fixtures. And although going into this, I'm saying it's not must win, it's a winnable fixture. Burnley haven't been playing very well. They're coming to our place, although that's not given a victory anymore. But Pellegrini needs to now pick up points, because right now, if you look at how many points we're going to get over the course of the season, if this was the way it was to go, it's relegation form. Despite the fact there's a lot of teams below us, the points total is very, very, very bad. So we need to start picking up points. So although I'm not going to say this is must win, he's going to have to start winning very, very soon.
Right, let's start wrapping this up. Mike, are you confident for this one?
I am actually. I think we, despite results, etc., have played really well. Reasonably well. I thought I was a game at Leicester. I thought we played well for that, even with 10 men, and we were unlucky not to win it. And I think it's that Burnley are in poor form. They have got a couple of good players, as we've discussed, and it won't be easy by any shot. And they are going to be in our face, and they are going to kick us, and it will be difficult. But I am confident. Yeah.
Charlie, what about yourself? You said it's a winnable fixture. Are you confident it's going to be a winning fixture?
It's going to be a very, very tough game either way. But I'm confident that we will have some sort of reaction from last night. I don't think we're going to see a similar whimper performance like we did yesterday, where they sort of get a goal and then it's all very dead from there. I think it's going to be a game where it looks like, I think our performance will show up. I think we will show up for this game.
I'm reasonably optimistic. I don't think there's going to be many goals in this game, by the way. I don't think there's going to be a lot of goals. I think there might be 2 goals at the most. There's a 0-0. If you look at the Premier League fixture list for this weekend, there's a 0-0. It's this one. I don't think it will be 0-0, though. I think there will be at least 1 goal. It's difficult because the reason I'm scared of Burnley, if they're in poor form, they've got Dyche as manager, and he will not accept that poor form. If they had a weaker manager, one with less characteristic, if you like, I'd be a bit more confident, but they don't. And Burnley to lose, I know they've only lost a couple and they've won a couple before that and stuff, but for Burnley to be in bad form consistently over a long period is rare under Sean Dyche. It won't happen. They'll always be one of these teams that win 1, draw 1, lose 1, win 1, draw 1, lose 1, because I just can't see them losing, say, 5-6 on the trot. And that's not necessarily what they're doing here. But while Charlie says there's going to be a reaction from the Spurs game last night, there's also going to be a reaction from Burnley after getting thumped on their own ground against Chelsea. Now, while it was Chelsea, they will not accept that. That doesn't matter. We're going to be on the repercussions. When we played someone not long ago, we were talking about, are they a wounded animal or whatever? Burnley are a wounded animal. They will be out for the fight. And that's what what concerns me a little bit is we've also got an idiot in charge of this game. Roger East, he's only refereed 5 games this season and only won the Premier League game. He's been refereeing, the Checker Trade Trophy, League One game. He's ref 1 game in each competition, basically. He's not the most experienced referee at top flight. We've had him a couple of times. Whenever we've had him, I've never been overly confident in his decision making, and he seems to be a bit calamity. It's hard to describe, but hopefully we don't find out on Saturday. But this game could be quite dirty. We've got the most cards in the league. Burnley have got the third or fourth most cards in the league. This one could heat up a little bit on Saturday. But anyway, will it heat up in terms of goals? Mike, do you care to give me your score prediction?
1-0 to us.
Interesting. Charlie?
I think 1-1. I think it'd be hotly contested, but we'll feel hard done by 1-1.
Interesting. I'm going to agree with Mike here. I'm going to say 1-0 West Ham. Anyway, guys, let us know what lineup you want to see by putting your comments in below. Me and Mike do not want to see Felipe Anderson, while Charlie does. I'll tell you what I do want to see: Zabaleta captain, not Anatovich, but I got a feeling we'll see Anatovich as captain. Yeah. Zabaleta armband. But hopefully you can join us on the boats on Saturday. Get your tickets from below. That's been Charlie, that's been Mike, I've been Gio, we've been Hammershot. We'll be back on Saturday night with a review from the boats, hopefully celebrating 3 points for West Ham, and hopefully not discussing another defeat for West Ham under Pellegrini. See you soon.